Imagine you need to move $20 billion out of Russia. You do not use suitcases. You do not hide it under fake names first. And you do not sneak it past the banks. You do something smarter. You create a fake debt. You get a court to declare that debt real. And then the money moves across borders, not as dirty money, but as a legal, court-ordered payment. That is what made the Russian laundromat so terrifying. Between 2010 and 2014, billions of dollars moved out of Russia through Moldova, Latvia, and some of the world's biggest banks. The money reached 96 countries. It flowed through more than 5,000 companies. And by the time anyone understood the machine, most of it was already gone. This was the Russian Laundromat, one of the largest money laundering schemes ever exposed. Around 2010, powerful people in Russia had a problem. The problem was not a shortage of money. The problem was getting that money out. For oligarchs, corrupt officials, and criminal networks, moving suspicious money abroad was risky. Banks could ask questions. Paperwork could expose names. So they needed a way to make dirty money look clean before it crossed the border. And the solution was almost absurdly simple. They would not disguise the money as business income. They would turn it into debt, legal debt, court-approved debt. Debt that a bank could process without asking too many questions. The machine depended on 3 countries. Russia supplied the money. Moldova supplied the court orders. Latvia supplied access to the European banking system. Together, they became a pipeline. To understand the Russian laundromat, you only need to understand 3 steps. Step 1. Create a fake debt. Shell companies were set up in places like the United Kingdom, Cyprus, and New Zealand. These were not real businesses. They had no offices, no employees, and no real commercial purpose. They existed on paper: names, directors, addresses, and documents. Then, 2 shell companies signed a loan agreement. Company A claimed it had loaned money to Company B, but in reality, no money changed hands. The debt was fictional. Then a Russian company signed as a guarantor. That meant if Company B failed to repay the loan, the Russian company was supposedly responsible. Step 2. Get a Moldovan court to make it official. One shell company sued the other in Moldova. It looked like a normal business dispute. You owe me money, pay up. But both sides were controlled by the same network. So nobody fought the case. No serious arguments, no real defense, no resistance. Then a Moldovan judge issued a ruling. The debt was real. The Russian guarantor had to pay. That ruling changed everything. Now the money was not moving because a criminal wanted to move it. It was moving because a court had ordered payment. On paper, it looked legal. And that was the genius of the scheme. According to the investigation, more than 20 judges across 15 Moldovan courts were involved. Over 4 years, they issued more than 50 court orders. The total debt they certified was around $20 billion. To understand how insane that is, Moldova's entire GDP in 2013 was about $8.5 billion. Judges in a small country were rubber-stamping debts worth more than twice the size of their national economy. Step 3. Move the money into Europe. With the court order in hand, Russian companies wired money into Moldova's Moldintkon Bank. From there, part of the money was withdrawn or spent around the world. The rest moved to Trasta Komertsbanka in Latvia. And Latvia was the final key. Because Latvia was inside the European Union. Once money entered a Latvian bank, it no longer looked like suspicious money coming directly out of Russia. It looked like money from inside the European banking system. Dirty money left Russia. A Moldovan court order made it look legitimate. A Latvian bank helped it enter Europe. And from there, it could travel almost anywhere. The numbers behind the Russian laundromat do not feel real. From 2010 to 2014, around $20.8 billion was laundered. The money reached 96 countries. It moved through more than 5,000 companies. It passed through tens of thousands of payments. And around 500 people were suspected of involvement. This was not a small backroom operation. This was financial infrastructure, and some of the world's biggest banks appeared in the flow of money. Deutsche Bank, Standard Chartered, Barclays, HSBC, the Royal Bank of Scotland, Coutts. This was the terrifying part. The laundromat did not operate outside the financial system. It operated through it. So where did the money actually go? Some went to luxury purchases. Some moved into companies. Some passed through accounts that hid the final owners. But investigators traced parts of the network. One name was Alexei Krapivin, the son of a close associate of Vladimir Yakunin, the former president of Russian Railways. Companies linked to Krapivin received hundreds of millions of dollars from the laundromat. During the same period, companies connected to his family won billions in contracts from Russian Railways. Another name was Alexander Grigoriev, head of the Russian Land Bank, which he ran alongside Igor Putin, cousin of Russian President Vladimir Putin. In 2014, Russia's central bank revoked the bank's license for anti-money laundering violations. Then there was Vyacheslav Platon, a Moldovan businessman and former member of parliament, identified by investigators as one of the alleged masterminds. And there were smaller stories too. Like the daughter of a senior Moldovan judge living comfortably in London, with money traced back to companies inside the laundromat. These are only the names that surfaced. The full list of beneficiaries was far longer, and many remain hidden. The scheme began to crack open in 2014 when OCCRP first exposed it. But the full picture did not emerge until 2017. After the first reports, investigations were launched in Moldova, Latvia, the UK, and Russia. But cooperation was limited. Moldovan officials accused Russian authorities of obstructing the probe. Then something extraordinary happened. Documents containing details of more than 75,000 bank transfers were handed to OCCRP and the Russian investigative newspaper Novaya Gazeta. OCCRP brought together journalists from 32 countries across 3 continents. They followed the money transaction by transaction, company by company, account by account. And what they found became one of the most important financial investigations of modern journalism. The most uncomfortable question is simple. How did so many banks process this money? The warning signs were everywhere. Shell companies with no real business activity were moving millions of dollars internationally. Many companies had hidden owners. Others were registered to ordinary people from Moldova, Ukraine, or Russia. People with no clear reason to own businesses moving huge sums across borders. A proper compliance check should have raised questions. Who owns this company? Why is it receiving millions? Why is the money moving so quickly? Why are so many payments connected to court orders from Moldova? But too often, those questions were not asked early enough. And when banks do not ask questions, dirty money keeps moving, not in the shadows, but through respected institutions with paperwork attached. So after one of the largest money laundering operations ever exposed, what happened? Some Moldovan judges were investigated. Some resigned. Latvia's Trasta Komercbanka lost its banking license in 2016. Another Latvian bank, Baltikums, was fined. Vyacheslav Platon was arrested, but the larger picture was disappointing. Most of the money was never recovered. Most of the true beneficiaries were never prosecuted, and Russia never gave full cooperation. The journalists exposed more than many authorities were willing or able to act on. That may be the most disturbing part. Because the laundromat was not just a failure of one bank, one court, or one country. It was a failure across the entire system. You might think this is old history. A scheme from 2010 to 2014. A financial scandal from another era. But the system that made it possible did not disappear. After the Russian laundromat came other schemes. The Azerbaijani laundromat. The Troika laundromat. Different names, similar playbook. A weak jurisdiction. Corrupt officials. Shell companies, hidden ownership. Major banks asking too few questions. Put those ingredients together, and you get a laundromat every time. And this is not just about rich people hiding money. Dirty money buys influence. It funds political networks. It supports disinformation. It corrupts institutions from the inside. The Russian laundromat was not just a money laundering scheme. It was a warning that dirty money does not always move in darkness. Sometimes it moves through courts, through banks, through contracts, through paperwork that looks official. The system did not fail because nobody could see the signs. It failed because too many people looked away. And through those gaps, more than $20 billion quietly walked out of Russia. The only people who truly followed it were journalists. 32 countries, thousands of documents, tens of thousands of transactions. They showed the world how the machine worked. But the question is not only how this laundromat operated. The real question is, how many laundromats are still running right now? If you want more stories about the financial crimes that quietly shape the world, subscribe, because the most dangerous crimes are usually hidden in plain sight.